Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place to come together, build community, get centered, and find out just what the present moment has to present to us. It is September 15th, 2020, birthday of humorist, filmmaker, and pacifist Robert Charles Benchley, born in 1889, died in 1945. Benchley is quoted as saying, "Most of the arguments to which I am party fall somewhat short of being impressive, owing to the fact that neither I nor my opponent knows what we are talking about." A mindful reminder that conflict can sometimes be just as much about overconfidence as it is about malice, and that a dash of humility may be the best protection against routine breakdowns in civility. I'm John Roberts from Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's Mindfulness program. Joining me is a man I know to be clothed in both humility and wisdom, an educator in many fields and of many minds. Some of the world is now lucky enough to have as a teacher of mindfulness, Greg Topakian. Good morning, Greg.
Oh, good morning, John. Nice to be here.
Greg, if I may begin by asking, what is the most important piece of advice you received when you first started meditating?
Well, when I first started meditating, this is the mid-'80s now. I was showing up at the Cambridge Insight Meditation Center, and being Cambridge with all the famous universities there were a lot of serious intellectuals there. And the teacher, Larry Rosenberg, sort of poo-pooed that. And he just kept saying over and over again, keep it simple and stick to the present moment. And that has always stuck with me. For those of us who are always trying to figure it out and make up some grandiose story about why the world is the way it is, or why I'm feeling the way I am, what the significance of this or that is, no, just stick to the moment, keep it simple, and stick to the present moment. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm imagining all these turtle-necked people who are asking Larry, but what does it mean?
Right. What's the significance of, how do you, no, what's happening now, right now,
No.
So that has always stuck with me, and I'm still working on it.
I hear it gets easier, but so in just a moment, I'll be asking Greg to lend some context to a guided meditation, which he will then be leading us in. After that, we will get into some Q&A together. That's where we want to make sure to hear from you. So take a moment, if you would, open up the chat box, which you can find at the bottom of your screen. Once you have that chat box open, we'll invite you to submit questions or comments at any time. Greg, is there anything that you'd like to check in with folks about right away as we're getting started here?
Yes. Well, what is it that you're trying to accomplish when you feel the impulse to practice in the morning, or whenever it is that you practice? What's your agenda? What's your aspiration? What's your intention?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
So while folks are typing, I want you to know how grateful we are to be spending time with you this morning. Now, do keep in mind that only Greg and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and value them all. And as we close, which will be right around 9 a.m., I will make mention of some other ways that you can keep in touch with us as well. Okay, so somebody is saying that their intention in practice is to be calm, to get a centered start to the day. Someone says to regroup when the day gets grooving. Someone says to bring focus and awareness. My goal is to exercise my mind in the AM and the PM to stay grounded. Somebody says stress reduction. Somebody says to check in with myself and see how things are, and see if I can be with things how they are, with how things are exactly as they are right now. Somebody else says to be with what is, with kindness, which is a great qualifier, I think.
Mhm.
Somebody says to be proactive versus reactive with my day. This is an a
Well, this was the question, wasn't it?
yes, a
Oh,
very
this is
thoughtful
great.
list for responses. All
A
right, well,
lot of food for thought there.
so Greg, so I was recently reading an interview with the mindfulness teacher Pamela Weiss, in which she stated the following thing. She said, freedom, enlightenment, and waking up is too often described as a kind of moving up and out of the world, rather than dropping down into engagement with the world. So for myself, I know it can be tempting to want to delve into the academic or intellectual aspects of mindfulness. I would have been one of those people in Larry's class asking what it means, even if doing that takes me away from engaging with those basic earthy aspects of meditative practice itself. So I'm wondering if you could orient your practice for us this morning towards some of the fundamental aspects of the practice in whichever ways feel
Mhm.
meaningful to you.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you, John. All right. So I'm going to guide us through a practice which, for me, in my practice, touches on two of the basic aspects of mindfulness, tuning into what's happening in the present moment, and doing so, as some of the comments alluded to help us be okay with what is presenting itself in that moment. Uh, because I was struck by one of the comments saying to be calm, and that's probably what a lot of us hope, but what happens when calm isn't there, you know? And so how do we meet the non-calm with some calm, so to speak? And so it's a practice that's become a regular part of my practice. It's called the 3-minute breathing space. And the first part of it helps tap us into what's happening in our bodies and minds at this time. So it's a mindful check-in, if you will. And the second part of it is what I've come to call a mode of mind shifter. And what I mean by that is, if what's presenting in our minds is not what we hoped or expected, what are we meeting that with? Are we meeting it with resistance or striving or fear? And upon noticing that, can we work with it so that we can allow it to be there? So we're shifting how we're engaging with what's prominent in the mind. Okay, so that said, I have about 10 minutes for this, so I thought I would guide us through it in about 6 or 7 minutes, and then have you do it on your own for 3 minutes, hence the 3-minute breathing space. And not to worry, I'll take care of the watching the clock. So first off, let me invite you to find a comfortable posture for yourself. Most of us are probably sitting in a chair or on a couch or a meditation cushion or a bench. That's fine. You can be standing or you can be lying down. Posture doesn't matter so much. What matters is, are we aware of the body in whatever posture we're in, and making whatever micro adjustments are necessary to find an ease in the body, to help settle the body. So the spine is relatively straight, not stiff or stressed, but relatively straight. The crown of the head is tilted forward, is flat, but tilted forward somewhat. If you're comfortable, to close the eyes. And if not, just to be gazing downward to minimize distraction. Shoulders are relaxed. Your hands, if you're sitting, are in the lap. If you're standing, just resting by your side. Feet on the floor, grounded. posture that says to each one of us, in this moment I'm awake. In this moment I'm in touch with what's happening in this body and mind. Okay, so let's start. The first minute of this 3-minute breathing space is to just tap into sensations in the body. So, what are you feeling in your body right now? What areas of your body are speaking to you? The body may feel relaxed. There may be tension in the shoulders or neck. It's fine to bob the head back and forth, but just to notice what feelings are present, what sensations, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. The next aspect of becoming aware of what's happening in this present moment is what thoughts are running through your mind. I have a busy day coming up today. I hope this practice helps me. I'm a little nervous about 9:30. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Can we just notice thoughts percolating in the mind? And next, what emotions capture this moment? Maybe there is calm, contentment, but maybe there's a little sadness, a little fear or anxiety. Can I just open to whatever emotion is present in this moment? And finally, can I check in with what spirit or with what attitude am I engaging with whatever is prominent in the mind and body? If I like it, if it's pleasant, am I hoping that it will last forever? Am I trying to hold on to it, cling to it? And if it's unpleasant, am I pushing it away? Am I resisting? Not to judge ourselves, but just to notice what's the stance with which I meet whatever life is presenting to me right now. So that's the first half, the mindful check-in. The second half has to do with the mode of mind shifter. If we are meeting this moment with resistance or striving or clinging, can we have the aspiration and make the gentle effort to nudge ourselves into allowing and approaching what's happening in this moment with a spirit of curiosity and interest, non-judgmentalness? And so how do we do that? How we might do that is to shift our attention now, instead of all the myriad of sensations, thoughts, and emotions, to one target. For many of us, it'll be the breath. It could be your feet on the floor. It could be your hands resting by your side or in your lap. It could be sound. Just turning your attention to this one target, an anchor, if you will. A place that represents calm or safety for you. And if it's breathing, what we're getting at is just simply to be the breathing rather than doing the breathing. just allowing the breath to be as it is, or allowing the hands in the lap as they are, contact with the hands on the knees or the feet on the floor. Hopefully a safe, neutral moment of experience. Allowing it to be there with curiosity and interest. And just to highlight that, in whatever position you're in, maybe to raise your arms by your sides. And as you do so, noticing sensations in the body and with breathing, and meeting that with a spirit of approaching it and allowing it. Sensations in the body as I move my arms. A mode of mind shifter trying to meet our present moment experience with a spirit of openness and curiosity, rather than clinging or fighting. So that's the practice. And in the next 3 minutes, I'll just prompt you at the end of each minute, and you can practice this exercise on your own. So let's start in this moment. And for this minute, you're just tapping into present moment sensations, thoughts, and emotions. What's here for you right now? How is it now? And now in this next minute, we're going to direct our attention to one object, to one target, the breath, your feet, your hands, sound, or some other target that works for you. And if the mind wanders, to bring it back to the target. Experimenting with just allowing the breath to be as it is. And in this last minute, to perhaps engage in a mindful stretch. So there's a little bit more going on in the mind in terms of the feeling of sensations as you move your arms or your legs. But with whatever arises, to meet it with a spirit of allowing and curiosity. And I'll count backwards from 3. And when I get to 1, I'll invite you to reopen your eyes and come back to the room. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for that, Greg. So let me ask you a quick question about that. Now, typically, when I sit and meditate, I'm focusing on one thing, which is usually the breath for me. And this practice that you just led us in has these multiple components. And so I'm just curious, should I be concerned that switching between those components is going to diminish my concentration overall or stop me from like really getting into it?
Yeah, well, good question, and something that comes up for many of us. Here's the thing. When we're initiating our practice, and certainly if we're beginning practicers, we have a target, an anchor that we select, to which we're directing our attention and attempting to sustain attention there. And the whole idea is to help to settle the mind, steady the mind. It can be a little pleasant because there's a calmness. But the end game with this is not just about being very good at staying at the breath. The end game here is that concentration, steadiness, calm is something that we hope to use to develop other mental qualities as well, like wisdom or patience or kindness and compassion. So we can be not only a good breath counter, so to speak, but to be more effective in the regular activities of daily life. So it's about using that ability to settle the mind to begin to look at, and this is what this exercise taps into, first off, what's happening in this body and mind? What is my present moment experience beyond just breathing? What other sensations are in the body? What thoughts are happening? The idea being is the more conscious we are of what's happening, the more able we are to choose how to respond appropriately to that moment. But know this, if ever we feel like the mind is running away too fast, that anchor, be it the breath, the feet, sound, is always available to us to turn back to. So it's sort of a dance we're doing. Once the mind is settled, we turn to the body, thoughts, emotions, and if it's running away too much, we bring it back to settle and calm the mind again.
So that's very helpful, Greg. And I want to make sure that folks also feel very welcome, also encouraged to ask Greg any questions that you may have, either about today's practice or anything else that's on your mind, using the chat box, please. And while you're taking some time to think and type, I can keep us rolling with some questions of my own. So just another follow-up question, Greg, if I may. So if I'm trying to do this practice at home, how crucial do you think it is that I spend the exact amount of time that you were leading us through on each of the particular steps? Is that a really important part of the practice, or can I keep it more loose?
Definitely can keep it more loose. Again, this is a practice. So maybe depending on your time constraints, the first time you do it, first few times you do it, you might want to time yourself that you only spend the 3 minutes just to get a sense for how long that is and how long a minute is. But we're only looking for a rough sense of this. What's more important is what's the quality of mind. And so in the first minute when you're checking in with sensations, thoughts, and moods, that's a lot to check in with. So if you go to 1 minute and 10 seconds, quite okay. It's the spirit of it. And so after you have your, elementary check-in, you do want to make some time for again, centering the mind and having time to practice with the aspiration of approaching and allowing. Now, whether that's 50 seconds or 45 or 70 or 75, not a concern at all.
You know, Greg, somebody's asking the chat box about the amount of stretching that is or is not appropriate to do in each of the sections. The person is saying that they were trying to be still. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a bit about the relationship between movement and stillness in this practice that you just led us in.
Yeah, great question. Obviously, maybe the person has practiced walking meditation before. And so we know that when we walk very slowly, it's easier to pay attention to more detail as we walk. But as one teacher once said, there's nothing holy about walking slowly. So it's to be understood that if we walk at normal pace, perhaps we're not going to notice life around us in such granular detail. So but the point of all of this is still to bring this sense of awareness to more and more activities of daily life. So we start by simplifying our life, sitting and just paying attention to one target. And then maybe we engage in very slow activities at first, a simple stretch. And can we attend to sensations when we do that? All in the spirit in that eventually over time, no matter what movements we're involved in, there is some awareness of the body as we engage. And so it's a gradual process, but again, there's nothing holy about being slow. And it's to be understood that we won't notice as much when we're moving quickly as we run compared to when we walk very slowly, and that's okay. But are we still bringing some awareness to what's happening in the body and mind in that moment?
So, Greg, somebody's asking an interesting question. They're asking about mindfulness practices for seasonal affective disorder, and maybe I can just rephrase that by saying, I notice, as I think all of us are noticing, that the sun is setting earlier than it used to, and there is a sense of a little bit of a little bit more of a darkening in the sky as the day passes. And I'm wondering, is there a way that mindfulness can help us as we move into what can sometimes be a little bit more of a trying season, as we have to spend more time inside, we don't have quite as many options? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. And it's to questions like that the exercise today is really oriented to. Because the more tuned in we are to what's happening in this body and mind and emotions, the earlier we can notice the onset of low mood, perhaps, or greater tension because of less light around us, or whatever it is, the sooner we can notice that, the more able we are to work with it before it gathers a momentum where we're spiraling way down with it. And so it's the same advice for any onset of physical or emotional challenge. If we notice that it's arising, well, what's happening now and what would help? And how can I bring curiosity to it? How can I bring kindness to this moment? And the sooner we're engaging with that spirit, the more ease we'll tend to experience. Whether it's seasonal affective disorder or back pain or sadness or whatever it is, being in touch, how is it now and what would help, making that be part of our new normal response will be helpful.
Oh, thank you for that, Greg. So unfortunately, I need to move us towards the end here. But folks, we're back with you every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find the links to these sessions and other resources at our main site at harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. If you have any questions for our experts that we didn't get to here, and there were some in the chat box that we will get back to in our next session. But any others that come up during the week, you can send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, or feel free to leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. We'd love to have you check out our free resources around mindfulness and pain management, which we're offering through a partnership with Mindful Magazine. Those resources can be found at mindful.org/pain. And please check out what we've been up to on our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and also interviews that we conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. Greg, thank you so much for your guidance this morning. A closing question for you. If you had a theme song for your mindfulness practice this week, what would it be?
This is a theme song for my mindfulness practice all the time. And it dates me. I'm a child of the 60s. The Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try real hard, you get what you need. And wow, there is a lot of Dharma wisdom in that statement if you open it up and unfold it. So,
oh wow, secret.
I love that.
Notes, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
Greg, I'm going to go with William Masalis' recording of Eric Satie's Trois Gymnopédies, because each of the three sections of that piece are about 3 minutes long, which I think makes it a great way to track the exercise, which we did this morning. So folks, please email us your meditation theme songs for this week. We'd love to hear what they're all about. In the meantime, thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you again, Greg. Wonderful to see you as always. And we will see everyone soon. Have a momentous day.